Subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. Her hands trembled as she stared down at the torn photograph lying on the floor. The edges were frayed, but the image was crystal clear, a snapshot of her ex-lover standing beside a stranger, both smiling with a secret that crushed her heart. It was a moment frozen in time, but its meaning was unraveling her entire world. The cramped apartment was silent, except for the steady ticking of an old clock on the wall. Outside, the city lights flickered through the cracked window. She sat, motionless, as if the world had stopped turning just for her. Time seemed to fold inwards, carrying her back to a past she had desperately tried to forget. A sudden creak of the wooden door snapped her back to the present, her breath caught, heart racing. She did not turn around. "You're still here." The cold voice cut through the room like a knife. It was him, David. Her ex-lover, the man who had mocked her dreams, dismissed her gentle nature and walked away without a second thought. Her eyes burned with rage and disbelief. How dare he come back now after everything? "I thought you'd run," he sneered. "But looks like some ghosts never leave." She slowly met his gaze. "You have no idea what you just woke up." The tension was thick, hanging between them like a storm ready to burst. The faded photograph on the floor told a story David didn't want her to know, one he tried to bury deep beneath lies and silence. A sudden crash echoed from the kitchen. She froze. Was someone else there? Or was it just her unraveling mind? Her heart thudded in her chest. The photo, the secret, the betrayal, all waiting to explode into the light. The quiet woman. Nobody noticed. For years, Anna had been just a shadow in the noisy streets of the city. The quiet woman who smiled gently, but spoke little. She worked at the local library, surrounded by books, but isolated from the world outside. People often overlooked her, whispering behind her back, or laughing softly when she wasn't listening. David had been one of them, the handsome, confident man who loved attention and power. When they first met, she thought he saw her for who she truly was, a dreamer, a soul who longed for kindness and peace. But soon, his words turned sharp, his laughter cruel. He mocked her simple life, calling her boring, invisible, and too fragile to survive. Yet Anna never fought back. She believed in calm strength, in the power of silence. She kept her heart closed, protecting herself from the harshness of a world that seemed designed to hurt the quiet ones. A photo that changed everything. The torn photograph was a relic of the past, a clue to a secret Anna had buried deep inside. It was taken years ago, at a time when everything seemed bright and full of hope. In the photo, David stood beside a man Anna had never seen before. A stranger with cold eyes and a smile that didn't reach his face. They were both holding something in their hands, something that glinted in the fading light. Anna didn't know what it was then. But the moment she found the photo in David's old jacket, hidden away in a forgotten drawer, everything changed. Why had David kept this photo? Who was the stranger? And what did they share that Anna was never meant to know? The night that started it. All that evening, Anna had been cleaning the apartment when she stumbled upon the jacket. Curious, she pulled it from the back of the closet and felt something heavy in its pocket. Her fingers brushed against the paper, the photo. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. The image brought a wave of memories, lies whispered in the dark, promises broken before they were made. She heard the door open behind her, but didn't turn. David was home early, his presence filling the small space like a shadow. "You shouldn't be looking through my things," he said, voice low but dangerous. Anna's heart raced, but she stood her ground. "What is this?" she asked, holding up the photo. David's face paled for a moment before he masked it with anger. "It's nothing, just forget it." But Anna knew better. That photo was a key, and she was ready to unlock the door to a truth David wanted buried. Secrets buried. Deep days turned into nights, as Anna pieced together fragments of a hidden past. She reached out to old friends, digging into whispers and half-truths. Each conversation brought her closer to a truth more painful than she imagined. David had been involved in something dangerous, something that explained his sudden departure and his coldness. The stranger in the photo was more than just a friend. He was a link to a life Anna never wanted to touch, but now the past was clawing its way back, and Anna had to decide. Would she run from the shadows or face them head-on? The turning point. The apartment felt colder that night, the weight of secrets pressing down like a storm. David's return was no accident. His eyes held a warning, a threat that silence would no longer protect either of them. "You don't know what you're meddling with," he said, voice a low growl. Anna met his gaze steadily. "I know enough to stop pretending." In that moment, everything changed. The quiet woman was no longer invisible. The photo, the secret, the pain. It all gave her a strength she never knew she had. The night was just beginning, and so was her fight. Questions that hung in the air. What was the secret behind the photo? Why had David returned after all this time? Could Anna trust anyone anymore? And most importantly, what price would she pay for the truth? The answers were buried in shadows, but Anna was ready to chase them no matter the cost. The next morning, Anna woke to an uneasy silence. The sun struggled to peek through the smudged window, casting weak light over the small apartment. Outside, the city stirred awake, unaware of the storm brewing behind these four walls. Her mind was a whirlpool of thoughts and questions. The torn photo had reopened wounds she had long tried to forget, and David's sudden reappearance only thickened the shadows around her. She sat at the kitchen table, sipping bitter coffee, staring at the cracked cup as if it might hold the answers. The call that changed everything. Her phone buzzed sharply, breaking the fragile quiet. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize. "Hello," she answered cautiously. A man's voice, calm but urgent, spoke on the other end. "Anna, this is Mark. I was a friend of David's, or at least, I used to be." Anna's heart skipped. Mark. She had never heard that name before. "What do you want?" "There's something you need to know about David," Mark said quickly. "Something dangerous. You're in trouble, whether you realize it or not." She swallowed hard, trying to steady her voice. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve the truth, and because David won't stop until he's sure." "You're silenced." Mark's warning, the line crackled as Mark spoke. He explained that David had been involved with a dangerous group, people who operated in the shadows, pulling strings behind the city's glittering facade. The man in the photo was no stranger, but a key player in this underground world. "They deal in secrets," Mark said grimly, "secrets worth killing for." Anna felt a chill creep down her spine. The quiet life she had always wanted was slipping away, replaced by a reality she barely understood. "Why come to me?" she asked. "Because David trusts no one else? But he underestimated you." Before she could ask more, the line went dead, shadows closing. Anna hung up, her mind racing. If what Mark said was true, she was in danger. But she refused to be a victim. She looked around her small apartment, the place that had been her sanctuary. Now it felt like a trap. Her fingers traced the edges of the photo again. This was the key, a piece of a puzzle she was determined to solve. Suddenly the doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected. Her heart pounded. She peeked through the peephole. Outside stood a young woman, nervously clutching a small bag. "Can I help?" "You?" Anna asked through the door. "My name is Sarah," the woman said softly. "I knew David, and I think you need to see this." An unexpected ally, Sarah, stepped inside, her eyes wary. She pulled out an old journal from her bag, worn and tattered. "This belonged to David," she said, handing it over. "He left it with me before he disappeared." Anna opened the journal carefully. The pages were filled with scribbled notes, names, dates, and cryptic messages. As she read, a clearer picture began to form. David had been hiding more than just secrets. He was running from something powerful. "Why are you helping me?" Anna asked. Sarah looked down. "Because I'm tired of running too, and because you deserve to know the truth." Pieces of the puzzle over. The next few days, Anna and Sarah pored over the journal, decoding its secrets. They discovered mentions of a hidden deal, a betrayal, and a mysterious location known only as the Haven. The more they learned, the more dangerous their situation became. Anna noticed unfamiliar cars parked near her building and strange faces watching from shadows. David's past was catching up, a glimmer of hope. Despite the danger, Anna felt a flicker of hope. She was no longer alone. Together, she and Sarah planned their next move, to find the Haven and uncover the truth behind David's secrets. But the deeper they dug, the clearer it became that powerful forces would stop at nothing to keep the past buried. Confronting fear one night, Anna stood on the rooftop of her building, staring at the city lights below. The photo in her hand felt heavier than ever. She thought of David, the man who had once broken her heart, but now seemed to be at the center of a dark, tangled web. Was he a victim or a villain? The answers were out there. But to find them, she would have to face her fears and the shadows lurking in the night. The night air was thick and heavy as Anna stood at the edge of the city park, her breath visible in the cold. The distant hum of traffic was a faint reminder that life outside this shadowy world continued without pause. But for Anna, everything had changed. She was no longer just a quiet woman ignored by the world. She was a woman chasing secrets, dangerous secrets that could destroy lives. In her hand, she clutched the torn photograph, now carefully preserved in a plastic sleeve. It was a symbol of betrayal, but also a key, one that she was determined to use to unlock the truth. Beside her, Sarah shifted uneasily. "Are you sure about this?" she asked softly. Anna nodded. "We have to go to the Haven. It's the only way to understand what David was running from." Sarah swallowed and glanced around nervously. "If we get caught, we won't," Anna said, more firmly than she felt. "We have no choice." The road to the Haven, their journey began in the early hours before dawn. They packed light, careful not to draw attention, and set out in a borrowed car. The city lights faded behind them as they drove toward the outskirts. Where rumors said the Haven was hidden, Sarah kept glancing nervously at the rear-view mirror. "I don't like this," she muttered. "Feels like someone's watching." Anna tightened her grip on the steering wheel. "We have to trust our instincts. If David could hide here, maybe it's safe enough." The road twisted through dense woods and empty fields, the landscape dark and foreboding. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every sound a warning. Arrival at the Haven. Finally, they reached an old abandoned warehouse set back from the main road. It was covered in rust and graffiti, a forgotten relic of a forgotten time. "This must be it," Anna whispered. They approached cautiously, the crunch of gravel under their feet loud in the stillness. The heavy metal door was locked, but Sarah pulled a small device from her pocket, a tool she had learned to use from her days in the underground network. Within moments, the lock clicked open. Inside, the warehouse was dark and dusty, but signs of recent use were everywhere. Fresh footprints, scattered papers, and a faint smell of smoke. Anna's heart pounded. They were close. Discovering the truth. They moved deeper inside, following a trail of clues that David had left behind. Old newspaper clippings pinned to a board, photographs taped to the walls, and scribbled notes in a language Anna barely understood. It was a secret operation, one that involved high-level corruption, illegal deals, and betrayals that reached the city's most powerful figures. The man in the photograph with David wasn't just a stranger. He was the leader of this underground network, a man who ruled with fear and secrecy. Anna felt a cold wave wash over her. David hadn't just been hiding from his past, he had been trapped in it, a dangerous discovery. Suddenly, a noise echoed through the warehouse, a heavy footstep on concrete. Anna froze. "Someone's here!" Sarah grabbed her arm. "We need to hide." They slipped behind a stack of crates just as a group of men entered, speaking in low voices. Anna strained to listen. They spoke about a package, about eliminating threats, and about David. Her blood ran cold. Captured by the past before they could escape, one of the men spotted them. "Hey!" he shouted, and the chase was on. Anna and Sarah ran blindly through the maze of crates, their breaths ragged, hearts pounding. But the warehouse was a trap. A heavy hand grabbed Anna's arm, spinning her around. It was the leader, the man from the photo. "You shouldn't have come here," he said coldly. Sarah was pushed to the ground, helpless. The confrontation, Anna looked into the man's eyes, searching for any sign of mercy. "What do you want from us?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He smiled, but it was a cruel smile. "David owes us. You owe us now." He pulled out a small device and pressed a button. The warehouse lights flooded on, revealing cameras recording every moment. Anna realized then they were being watched, a flicker of defiance. Despite the fear gripping her, Anna felt something stir inside, a fierce determination. David had been trapped in this nightmare, but she wasn't going to be his victim. "We will expose you," she said quietly. "The world will know the truth." The man laughed. "You're brave, but bravery won't save you." The price of secrets hours passed like days as they were held captive, the men questioning them about what they knew. Anna saw the cost of silence and lies, the broken faces of those who had tried to escape before them. But she clung to hope, knowing Sarah was by her side. Together they would find a way out. Breaking point one night, as the guards slept, Anna whispered to Sarah, "We have to fight. For David. For ourselves." Sarah nodded, tears in her eyes. The next morning, when the guards opened the cell, Anna was ready. The dawn's first light crept through the grimy warehouse windows, casting long shadows over Anna and Sarah's small, dim prison. Their hands were sore from the cold metal shackles, and their spirits worn thin from the endless hours of waiting and uncertainty. But the fire within Anna burned brighter than ever. She had promised herself one thing: no matter what happened, this nightmare would end with the truth exposed. David's story, her story, the secrets buried in that photo, all of it would come to light, and this time she would not be silent. A plan, born from desperation. That morning, Anna whispered a plan to Sarah as quietly as the pain in her throat would allow. "We have to turn their cameras against them," Anna said, "and use their own technology to send a message." Sarah nodded slowly, eyes wide but determined. "How?" Anna had noticed during their captivity that the men were careless. The security system was old, but functional, and there was a hidden panel near the main control room, a vulnerability. If they could reach it, they could hack into the feed. It was risky, maybe even impossible, but it was their only chance. Break hours later, when the guards were distracted with some petty argument, Anna forced herself to move quietly, despite the shackles. Sarah was by her side, helping her every step. They slipped past the shadows of sleeping men and crept towards the control room. The door was locked, but Sarah pulled a bobby pin from her hair and with trembling fingers worked the lock. The door clicked open, facing the control room. Inside, the room was filled with monitors and tangled wires. Anna's heart raced. She could see the faces of their captors on several screens, unsuspecting. Sarah moved swiftly to a panel, unplugging a wire and connecting her phone to the system. "Now we just need to broadcast," Sarah whispered. Anna picked up a nearby microphone, her voice trembling but clear. "This is Anna," she said, speaking directly to the cameras, to everyone watching. "We are prisoners. We know the truth about what's happening here. The corruption, the lies, the dangers David was trying to escape. The broadcast, the message was sent live, streaming to dozens, maybe hundreds of devices. Anna's voice carried the weight of years of pain, betrayal, and courage. "We demand justice. We demand the truth be heard. And to those who think silence can protect them, we will no longer be invisible." Suddenly, footsteps echoed. The guards had discovered their absence. "We need to move," Sarah urged. The escape Anna and Sarah fled the control room, alarms blaring behind them. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Men shouted orders, searching every corner. But Anna and Sarah were prepared. They used their knowledge of the layout, darting through narrow corridors and hidden passages David had marked in his journal. At the far end, a rusty fire escape door beckoned. With a final push, they burst through into the fresh morning air. Outside, into the light, the cold hit them like a slap. But freedom was intoxicating. They ran down the stairs and into the forest, branches scratching their skin but unable to stop them. Behind them, the warehouse faded into a distant silhouette. The aftermath, when the authorities finally arrived, thanks to the viral video and urgent calls from viewers who had watched Anna's broadcast. The corrupt network was exposed. David's name was cleared, no longer a shadow, but a man trapped by forces beyond his control. Anna's courage had sparked a movement, a demand for justice that reached far beyond the city limits. Healing and new beginnings. Months later, Anna stood at a small cafe, sunlight warming her face. Sarah sat beside her, smiling. The quiet woman was no longer invisible. Her story was told, her voice heard, and as for the torn photograph, it was framed on the wall of the local community center, a reminder that even the smallest spark of courage can light up the darkest night. Final words. Anna had learned that silence was no longer protection. Strength was found in the truth, in standing up despite fear, and in refusing to be defined by others' judgments. Her journey had been painful and long, but in the end, it was hers to tell, and the world listened.